Hi guys, it's Drew here. I'm here to make a video today talking about spirits. Now, I mentioned before in my previous video, Top Deck Tuesday, and it's going to be Tuesday tomorrow, that I was going to be working with the Ghost and Spirits Tarot by Lisa Hunt. I do have a cold, so if I cough, I am so sorry. Okay, so I have a few notes here. Now, there's a few things I want to actually approach this week and maybe make a few videos on. I'll see how I go. But one of them is spirit and my relationship with the word spirit and my relationship with spirit in general. So today I asked a question of the cards, what would help me to open the door to my spirit guides? And I actually drew the Five of Wands. Now, I'm not really particularly fond of this card at all. I've shuffled the deck a few times and I've looked at it and I just have this resistance to it. I have a resistance to it. You know when you have those cards that you just like, fuck that, I don't know what this means. I am not getting anything from it. I don't want to work with this card. I just don't. And it was the first one that popped up. So, you know, life is like that, and that's what it's like when you're doing things, when you're working really with a deck for an intensive purpose. So, reading through the guidebook, it talks about a man named Lemon. Now, Lemon had a wife, and his wife gave birth to a son, and you know, really good family. But Lemon had his shadows. He had feelings and lust for another woman, and he obviously didn't know how he could go about sort of working through these issues, confronting these issues, and so he thought the best thing for him to do would be to kill his wife. So after his death, he proposed to his beloved, his new lover, and they planned on getting married. But the shadow of what he'd done haunted him by the ghost of his wife. And because of that, his mind started playing tricks on him, and the haunting and the shadow of his wife's death sort of become a little bit too much to bear, and he kept seeing her everywhere until she appeared in the face of his new bride. And of course, you know, being confronted with his shadow, being confronted with that issue, being confronted with his selfishness, his ego, his anger, he took his blade, he took his sword, and he beheaded his wife. He didn't really recognize what he was doing or realize what he was doing until he'd done it, and the ghost disappeared, and he was left with the mess of, you know, killing his new bride. And and in this card, you can see him looking at his shadow. The shadow is the pool there. His wife, the ghost of his wife, is haunting him, and he sort of still has his sword. Um, it's kind of like she's bleeding down on him, and he's trying to stab his shadows. I don't know if you guys can see it very well on this camera. And so that's the definition, that sort of the story that comes with the book. And I had a lot of trouble today sort of uncovering what that meant for me and how I wanted to perceive it, because I was struggling with the idea of like, okay, so the card's telling me there's obstacles in the way, this card's telling me that there's going to be relationship struggles on the way, this card's telling me that there's a lot of regret and strife with this, opening the doors to spirits. And it scared me. I was like, okay, I'm ready. I'm ready to do this. I'm ready to face my shadow of spirit. But it's a good thing, because I had to take a step back and go, okay, I may be ready, but the timing might not be right. And what is my intention about coming to my shadows around spirit? Because for a really long time, what spirit meant to me, probably until I was about 20, spirit to me meant ghosts. Spirit to me meant paranormal. Spirit to me meant an amalgamation of energy that I had not addressed, because I did believe that, you know, like energy attract like energy, and I was in a very bad place. So my perception of spirits were these entities that were made and fed off energy that wasn't being addressed. So my experiences of spirit being a psychic person, sorry, being a psychic person, being someone who is very, sorry, perceptive of spirits and energy, I saw what, well, I saw what was reflected inside of me, outside of me with other spirits. So that was my relationship with spirit until I discovered angels, until I discovered different ways of looking at spirits. And I guess too, I was brought up with society standards of what ghosts and spirits are, and I still have that inside me. I'm still scared shitless, you know. I've seen ghosts in my life. I've seen ghosts through my whole life, and I still get scared. I still am attached to that idea that these ghosts and these spirits are all one thing. They're all made of this sort of fearful energy, vengeful energy that, and it sounds silly because, of course, I deal with my shadows. Of course, I have anger. My life now is completely different. I address things differently. I have a different outlook. You know, my energy is more radiant. And yes, I am a dark person. Yes, I am a light person. And I think it's really important to approach this topic of paranormal and ghosts with the same outlook. So that's what I've been sort of uncovering today. And so I've got a few notes here. The way that I looked at it is a mirror because for me, I have struggled with addiction to sexual things, um, sort of lifestyles. I've never been addicted to, you know, alcohol or drugs or anything like that. But for a very long time, sex was my addiction, and that's just something that I really wanted to come to terms with. It was early in my life. It's how I've gotten through a lot of things. It's how I've paid my rent sometimes. And that's something that is scary to admit to myself. That's something scary to admit to other people. And I guess with this card, why it triggered me so much was that I've been around a lot of that behavior. Not so much as the murdering and the killing, but I have definitely been around that sort of toxic, destructive behavior. And I've been a part of that toxic, destructive behavior. And that is part of my ghost in my past that still haunts me to this day. So it's about obstacles and resistance and developing a relationship with spirit. And of course, kind of bridging this idea of spirit as a ghost and paranormal entity and spirit as a divine. Because is it different? Is it really different? No, we're dealing with dark and light energies, and it's really about how you approach it. So I was thinking about how to approach it today, and hilariously enough, I'm actually making dinner tonight, and I don't know why, but subconsciously I'm making lemon chicken. So I thought that was hilarious. But it gave me a chance to actually think about something. So I thought, you know, lemons, when we think about lemons, they are a lot like our shadows. They're very bitter. You know, they've got a hard skin and a bitter inside. You know, you're not going to cut open a lemon and lick it all around. You're not going to want to squeeze it and drink the lemon juice. I mean, some people do. But for the most part, lemons are bitter. But you can do a lot with a lemon if you know the right way to use it, or how to use it, and how to harness it and extract its flavor. Much the same way you can do a lot with your shadows. If you know what the shadow is, you know what you want to do with it, and you know, you find a way to work through it. You find a way to sort of understand what it is, what it means, what the layers are, because again, lemons have layers. Not the same way that onions do, but definitely they do have layers of flavor. They have veins inside them. They have segments that, you know, you pull apart and squeeze out. And I think that shadow, our shadow aspect of spirit and our shadow aspect of ghosts are much the same way. You know, you don't want to go to a ghost. You don't want to go to spirit. You don't want to go to divine. Um, with everything you've got inside you, with all the intentions in the world, you know, with all the focuses and the projects and everything like that. You want to come to spirit with one idea or one project or one thing that you want to petition to, or you know, something you want to work with, something you want to work with these things. I think another thing that I realized too with the lemon and lemon in the card was that he had sort of this sort of one directive. And sometimes when we're coming to spirit, or addressing ancestral work or anything like that as well, because I do see spirit as ancestors, we come to them with such intention, but the intention is full of heaviness rather than lightness. It's coming to it with fear rather than love. And I think that's something to do with shadow work as well, because we are straddling those fear and love dimensions, but we're also, you've got to be able to love yourself to come to that as well and to address that. And that's something that I really do see in the card there. Lemon is lacking love. Shadows are lacking love. And when we're able to face those traumas and regrets, you know, think about spirits. Why do spirits come back? Why spirits linger? A lot of the times it's to give us a message. What is the message of shadow? A lot of the time as well, spirits come back because they haven't been able to deal with the trauma and regret. And how do they do that? How do we do that in ourselves? We take one bite of an apple once at a time, and as with any meal, as with anything, you have one piece at a time, then you eat the next piece, then you eat the next piece, then you eat the next piece. Analogies galore. So it's having the strength to be able to do that work. It's having the strength to peel back the lemon, to know that it's going to be bitter. It's not going to taste very nice. It's not going to be la beers, la magic, the cheers. But what it is going to be is real. What it is going to be is it's going to expose you to what's underneath the surface. And I think that addressing spirit, whether you're addressing it as divine, whether you're approaching it as I am with spirit guides and sort of understanding what spirit means to me, what ghosts are to me, what they have to offer, I really feel like by approaching it in a number of different ways, but just coming back to this idea of, peeling things back, what's going on, how do you want to approach it, what are your expectations as well, because a lot of the time ghosts don't have expectations, I guess. Like, if you're thinking about, like, when we die, a lot of everything that's a part of us disappears. It just disappears. And a lot of the time, like I said, a ghost of just a deceased family member may have a message, and a lot of the time when they've got that message to you, they tend to move on. you know if a ghost doesn't have like hasn't been able to reach you, or has a lot of messages, it's going to take a lot of time to get through that. And I think that's the thing too, working with spirit guides, is that you can't come to them with 100 different things that you want to address. And sometimes, you don't know which spirit guide is going to turn up, much the same way as when you're working with shadow work. You don't know what shadow is going to turn up. It's always nice to come to that, to come to those spirit guides with that intent. Like, I want to work with this spirit guide, if you know who that spirit guide is. But sometimes it helps to be vulnerable. It helps to release the idea that you're going to get a particular energy or work with a particular energy, because sometimes you might not get the energy that you were looking for. And I feel like this is asking me personally to step back and go, you know where am I in my heart, where am I in my soul, where am I in my journey, what do I want to bring to that door, am I protected, am I ready? Because sometimes we can feel like we're ready, but we're not quite sure about what ready means to us. And it's looking to see, for me, I need to set up protective shields. I need to sit with my chakras. I need to set sacred space to work with particular guides. I have a particular guide that I love to work with, and as I've mentioned, um, I've worked with one of these cards with that guide. So it sort of seems really interesting that all this stuff's come up as I've been working with this deck. So I thought there would be some, just offering some sharings. I know I've coughed a few times and rambled a bit, but I'm hoping that, whenever you're thinking about working with spirit and you're not quite sure, you're resistant, there's going to be obstacles, and the relationship is strained, especially if you've come from sort of, religious backgrounds and different backgrounds as well. It's going to be strained, it's going to be hard, but it's worth investing if you can just sort of start, release the anxiety and start, and know that there is work, but the work is worth it. Lemon analogy. So thank you guys for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video, and I will talk to you all later. If you want to give me your feedback on a 5 and mods, I'd really love to hear some perspectives, and I will talk to you all later. Goodbye guys. Love you. Bye.